different tools that I use in scripts.
That's correct. Exactly.
Feel free to use them for whatever you'd like. Let me open one thing though before I wait. Where is it at? Templates. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, Alex. How are you? How you doing?
Hello, hey, it's been great to hear you again. How are you doing?
Good.
Great, yeah.
Where are you located, Alex?
I'm still in Ukraine.
Ukraine. Okay.
Correct.
How the things going over there?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any worse either.
Okay.
Okay.
Like
Well,
that.
I
Yeah.
hope. Oh, okay. I hope all is good for you and your family.
Yeah, I'm safe here. Thanks a lot.
Great. Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is a horrible segue into Cigent. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's just kind of pales in comparison to real life. Okay, I will share my screen. Share my entire screen. All right, you should see, what's the background today? Actually, it kind of looks like Michigan in the summer, but I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it does. It's amazing. If you look at, so there's two peninsulas in Michigan.
Okay.
The Upper Peninsula, it's amazing. It's all kind of, when you go around the lakeshore, it's like this.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something, but I don't think this is that. Okay. So when I do a demo, I typically build it out to start with just really simple in the fact to show someone what two-factor authentication looks like, just to explain it. And I literally will just say, hey, I'll open up this application here and say, I'm going to go to a folder that has Cigent protecting it and just open it up and then open a file. And then it'll prompt me for my second factor authentication. And then I'll enter that in. And then that's it. And then I just to show the most basic thing of what MFA is at the file level. That's that. So then the next thing I typically like to do is I like to demo this from the standpoint of kind of how I would deploy it out, where it's a building block where you have Cigent, and we can start at the most basic level, we'll call it our shields up configuration, where I can go as an administrator and I can go into the management console and then by, group, by device, or by the enterprise, I have the ability to go in, press this button, and make it so that anytime I need to access my data as an end user, I have to provide my second factor authentication. And that's what, Shields Up looks like for Cigent. Now, we can build upon that, and I'll discuss that too. But I typically will go into here next and select the device I'm connected with. So not to make this too complicated, but I'm on this Lenovo, and I have my own management console for it, so I'll show that. So I'll go in here and then select my device and then select lock. And then now I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to click this and then point this out to the folks that we're demoing for, that once this connections made from the management server to the endpoint, this will then change the look and feel of the application, right? The color is going to change from red, a threat's been detected. And now what I'll do is I'll go in back to my folders here and say now, and typically sometimes I may try to differentiate what these two do. So dynamic again is just if there's a threat that's been detected, end users will have to use their multi-factor authentication. So then I'll just walk into that one of these folders here that I had shown previous and said, you know, before I was able to open that file, no issue. Now, if I want to open this file that's wrapped with Cigent, I need to present, I need to provide, wow, I'm having some fun with encryption today. I need to provide the second factor authentication. This should pop up an MFA prompt to that user or to whoever's demoing it. So at that point, that's kind of like the first step in how you can use this. Previous, I kind of, and I'm a fan of doing this too. I have to probably incorporate it some more. I like to kind of wrap stories around these, doing a demo. I used to do it from the standpoint of an end user starting with a company in their first day, and then if you know a phishing exercise or a phishing attempt is made, and walking through how Cigent can protect against that. That's something I'm probably going to kind of incorporate back into my demos. But at this point right now, I've shown we're in this active lock state. We're protecting any data that you've defined that you want to have Cigent wrapped with and protected. Conversely now too, so this is file and folder where I would tie this back to if there is a storage opportunity where we're using the secure drives, I would then go into the management console. And it's something I should have done beforehand, which was, unlock those vaults. So if I go into here, previous to the demo starting, I'll pick one of the vaults and unlock it. And this is saying, hey, it's actually maybe a good exercise to show as well. This is telling me, hey, there's an active lock situation happening. Do you want to, unlock this? I'm going to select yes. Now, of course, I have to put my multi-factor in, which I only know or have. So at that point, I could, walk through this exercise. Ideally, I'd have this open beforehand. And then when this wrong icon, when this locking event happens, then this vault, this partition would then automatically close itself up. And then now I'm going to clear this thread off. Any questions right now?
Bertin or
No,
Stan?
no question, no question. There are no questions.
Mm.
Okay.
No, thank you.
So from here, it's really talking about kind of like the next phase, which would be more of your, call it zero trust access. And I would call it like a zero trust configuration. And it really kind of builds upon this, where this mode here, this call it shields up configuration, this allows organizations to deploy Cigent really quick without a lot of, tuning really. You can deploy this out, the agent, define your policy rules as far as what you want to have protected. And then from there, as soon as the machine registers, that's just sitting in this, waiting state for a threat to be detected. And, at that point, when their threat's been detected, then you can, you have to multi-factor to access your data. But if you want to kind of build on that and kind of go more into a zero trust mode, you can then start adding policy rules at this always on. So always on just equals always MFA. And then I would explain that more, how there are going to be certain use cases for groups of users or single users that are going to be required to have this configuration. So I can always require MFA at the file or folder level and at the storage level if it's needed. Right, and I can just go and turn this on. And then this, of course, will incorporate encryption with it as well, where you can select the folder or folders and then set the encryption up. Typically at this point, what I'll do then, I don't really need to demo this because I've kind of showed it already. I'll just reference it like previous when I showed you this. I always have to MFA to access those files. And this can just be built upon. And then to finish it up, kind of like the last step in this building block is the secure drives. And then I will generally have these, I'll have these unlocked ahead of time to start a demo. Complete segue, something we talked has nothing to do with a demo, but we talked about last week about having a tool that can go out and be deployed and tell you if a device has compatibility for Opal. We're working on building that out now. I had a discussion with folks in product management, and it's in the development queue. So once we have that, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
So back to here. So I will always have these unlocked typically for demo. And then it's really the same story. So now it's, folder, file, folder, and storage. So here, you can go and access your data, or again, if you need it to be really zero trust at the file level, then we can have that as well, and you can configure that. Something that we haven't shown, and because I installed this, when you deploy this to a customer, we kind of have this option to do a quick start configuration of the deployment. So you would install the agent, the machine would restart, and then on reboot, the Cigent service detects that Cigent isn't configured yet. So a wizard will come up in a window and it will say, hey, we've noticed or we've detected Cigent's not configured from the first boot or whatever. And you'll go in and you can put in your multi-factor default PIN to start with. And then you can put in whether or not you want to set up these secure drives. And you can pick one or the other to start with, or you can skip the whole configuration and do it after if you want to have both of these vaults available. The quick config just says, do you want to have data protected during the threat, or do you always want to have protections available? And based on what you would choose, you would have either this always on vault or dynamic vault. But again, you can bypass that and just skip it. And then after it does the initial configuration, you can go back and configure it for both vaults if you'd like. But then to demo this, it's really easy. Depending upon, I typically will sometimes just go back to here and show, that threat's been detected somehow or another. And then I'll also start talking about tying this in and it should be known before, but if your customer is using one of these integration vendors that we have today, I'll talk about it. And then inevitably may come up with, we talk about CrowdStrike or something like that, and that's something we're gonna work with or work on, but I will talk about how we can automate that threat detection as well.
Okay.
So then if I go here, I'll just select the, the endpoint, block it, yes. And then again, this is a really good visual because again, when that threat's been detected by Cigent here, and I'll just point out that, this will change to red again because the threat has been detected and we're going to go into our active lock mode. When that happens, these drives are going to close up and then that data is invisible.
Okay.
And that goes away. And then if you want, yeah, I'll leave it for right there. So that's really demoing that just to start with.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
okay. So we'll go back and unlock this. So that's kind of like a baseline demo of like starting out. We can deploy Cigent, put it in an active lock, or excuse me, in the shields up mode where we're waiting for a threat to be detected, and then we can action upon that. And then going to zero trust, and then really kind of getting into the drives themselves and the vaults. Now, if we want to start spinning this out and start weaving in different tools and that, what I like to do when I have time for an actual long demo, I will demonstrate this using a VM. I use Kali just because there's no, I mean, it just seems what everyone uses, but what I like to demonstrate in using Cigent is how we can actually do this, preventing access or unauthorized access to your data. So I do it a couple different ways. I have some scripts they're really simple Linux commands, right? There's nothing special that I'm doing here. But what I do is I will take this machine, this VM, and I will then basically set it up as it's a privilege escalation attack where someone has acquired credentials, elevated credentials, however they have done it, but they have access to credentials that have elevated rights. And then what I've done then is I use a tool here that's called Impacket. If you're familiar with that, it's actually a real thing that nation states have used. If you Google this, you will see how it's been used in attacks globally to kind of do what I'm doing here. It's kind of bad, but it's a free set of Python utilities. I think Kali has it in there by default, but it's just a library that you can pull down. If you look it up, it's really easy to install. But then
Do
when
you
I
know it?
go ahead.
Do you know the tool, Bertin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for the noise here. If you are hearing something.
No.
Okay.
So I will then, what I've done now is I will go to my desktop here and let me just resize my window. So what I'll do here is I've made a connection already before our call. So I connected to my device. And I have and I know obviously there's an elevated password, which I forgot to type in here. So I typed it in, made a connection. I just did a dir of my C drive. And then as you can see, I'm connected to this right now. So what I'll do then is this executable here, I've deployed ahead of time. I have it uploaded and I'll send it to you. What this will do is it will encrypt files in whatever folder you want. And so this is essentially demonstrating ransomware, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll go back to my commands here. I've got this command referenced here. So I'm going to go into this file. And then I can run this remotely, and it's going to encrypt these files. So I'll just copy this and go back. And then I just need to CD to that directory. So, and tab complete does not work with this application. So I'm gonna CD into that. And then now I'm gonna paste this, which will then just call, cmd.exe, and then run this, and it's going to, oops, actually changed this directory recently. But you can call it whatever you want, and you can put whatever files in here. Decrypting this is pretty easy, but I'll run this remotely, and then pretty quick, you'll see the file extensions change, and now I've encrypted these files. So I've essentially ransomed those files, right? Or I've encrypted them now, and I'm going to ask for a ransom. So I've done that remotely. Now, what I want to show is that same action, but I'm going to then try to do it against files or folders that are protected with Cigent. One thing I thought of doing here recently, and I need to do it in a demo, is actually go into that shields up mode and then try to do this with any type of file or any type of folder that's protected with Cigent. So what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to break out of this. I'm going to reconnect to here. And then I'm going to re-authenticate. Should connect. Yep. So if I wanted to prove it out again, I could do a dir, and I'm connected. So I'll go back to that directory. Oops. So I'm back in there. So now what I'll do is I'm going to pick this folder here. And so let's just do this. So I'm going to copy and cheat this really quick. Copy, paste, and then I'm going to say data. So if I go to this folder now, and I try to run that same command remotely, right? Again, I'm using elevated credentials. When I try to execute that command, immediately you're going to notice an MFA pop up. Me as an end user. Me running this remotely, I have no clue what's going on. Me as an end user, then I'll point this out too, that this process right here is trying to access this file in that folder. Any questions?
No, Beans. Everything clear. Go ahead. Continue, please.
And kind of moving with the same thing, if you want to demonstrate Cigent, so then I'll take this to another, if I want to do this as well, depending upon time, I could, at that point, I didn't have to break out of there. Let me reconnect. What I like to do as well, so that's kind of demonstrating ransomware.
Okay. So you're applying the layer, the encryption layer too, right? It's not only the multi-factor authentication.
It doesn't have to be though. So, I mean, really the biggest problem that we solve today is we prevent unauthorized access to your data. And that could be through, common
Yeah.
use cases today are data theft and ransomware. If
Mhm.
you want to have that extra layer of encryption, you can most certainly do that.
Yeah.
But this is really just at our core MFA at the file level.
Okay. Jose asked me a question about that the other day that I would like to ask you to. So for
Sure.
example, if we apply the multi-factor authentication level at the drive, it's just going to work in the endpoint that was applied, right? If I connect that drive to another endpoint, it's not going to work, right?
Well, that's what I just did. I mean, I connected this VM to this device, which
Okay.
has the drive with our software running on it. And I issued commands remotely to
But
access.
you need to have installed the Cigent agent in the other machine, right? Or it doesn't matter if it's installed or not.
So the
Because
machine,
we did the same test here with the other day when a USB stick, but it seems like it only works with drives, is what I understand.
well, no, so to protect the data, you need to have Cigent installed and the service running. If, but
And the other machine, and the other machine.
no, I mean, this one, so this is the machine that I'm presenting off of right now is the machine that has Cigent installed on it.
Uh-huh. The
This is a
first one.
remote, yeah,
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
a
a Kali
VM.
box. Uh-huh. Yeah, the BM Kali box, right? Uh-huh.
Yep. I don't have Cigent installed on here.
Okay.
I'm just simply trying to issue commands to like remotely um, to do things, right? To encrypt your files, to seal your data, things like that.
Okay.
You so you need to have any endpoint that you want to protect this data, you need to have the software and that service running. That's it. If I try to access this data remotely, and it's protected with Cigent, the end user in front of that device is going to get a multi-factor prompt of some sort. This machine doesn't require to have Cigent installed.
Okay.
Does that help or make sense?
Yeah, I think I got it. I mean, the disk drive is going to connect to the Cigent cloud, and it's going to like send something,
Nope.
and it's going to then um
So
send
here,
that
let me.
request to your machine, which is Cigent installed, right?
It's even
Something remotely, something like a remote thing, is
it's
what I
even
understand.
simpler. It's even simpler than that. So
Okay.
I install Cigent. There's a service running on my machine.
Yeah, yeah.
It is right here. Okay, that's running right now.
Mm-hmm.
When I have some device that's trying to connect. So the first thing this did is just established a connection to a port, right? To this machine, and I could just query it like I wanted to. But anytime a process tries to access your data, and you've defined that you want Cigent to protect it. So maybe it's see my documents or like my documents or something like that. If we're in an active threat state, then I'm always going to have to require MFA. It's happening all local. There's no, I'm not communicating out to the management council or anything like that. Like you saw last week, and you set a rule for all. I think it was like text files.
Okay.
Anything that we say we want to protect, there's that file system driver. We're intercepting that process call, and then based on the rules we've put in place, then I would either have an MFA prompt or not. So this machine here, this VM connected to my laptop, it then tries to issue commands to execute to encrypt files or to move files or what have you. Cigent is intercepting that call that's being made because it's connected, and then it's prompting the end user for MFA. Hopefully, I'm
And
not confusing this.
what would be the scenario with a real machine, not a VM attached to the same
It could be
machine?
yeah, it could be a VM for sure. But say someone gains physical access to a machine on a customer's network, and they're hands-on keyboard, and they go and they've done their reconnaissance work, and they want to then start encrypting data. Well, most likely they're going to be doing it with some tool of some sort, right, to encrypt it. My case, I have this tool that's an executable that I installed. It's a Python exe right here, and I'm issuing a command to execute this executable, telling it to encrypt these files in this folder.
Okay, yeah, I got your VM thing, but what we're interested is in a real one machine, in a physical machine, not VM stuff, not
Let's say,
virtualization.
let's say, for example, Vince, that
I still
I
have two
want to
machines set
share a
up,
file.
right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Let's say, for example, that I want to share a file to Bertin that is protected by Cigent. Okay,
uh-huh.
and what we just seen is that he can open well, he can try to open in the file, but it's going to show for him that is encrypted. He cannot open it with anything because the file added an extension that his computer is not knowing,
Right.
but it's not prompting any MFA. Am I right with that description, Bertin?
Yeah, I mean, because what we're interested here isn't a real devices, real machines, not VMs. So is what we need. Is what the concern that we need to clear right now, because the
Yeah.
customer is going to have the same environment with real machines. So the question would be, I
Sure,
have
this is a
to,
real machine.
yeah, I know you're running a VM machine, but the customer is gonna ask you, okay, I have two computers, two real computers. When one is running Cyan agent and the other
And
one
what
is
is not?
not, the other one is
Mm.
not running.
Yep,
I want to protect my files with the MFA
yep.
encryption. I know that encryption is going to work, is going to protect your files. But what about the MFA? If the MFA is active and running in the first machine, what will happen in the second one, which is not running Cyan?
Uh-huh. Exactly. How do we enforce the use of a agent?
So it's preventative. That's really what we're doing is we're preventing this remote machine, call it physical or virtual, a machine. We're not doing anything after to this machine. This machine here is on your network and it's trying to gain access to either steal your files or encrypt them.
Okay.
So this machine here, again, physical or virtual, doesn't matter. Just for the sake of doing a demo, a VM's easy. Once we protect those files, you would hope, I mean, the goal would be then the end user is contacting the security team, right? And then they can go in and use their other tools that they have, their EDR, XDR, what have you. Because the one thing to point out here too is when I use this machine to execute this Python program, I'm running this right now on here. It didn't pick it up. So my EDR tool did not pick up what's in effect is a 0 day, if you kind of think about it.
Okay.
So it didn't pick anything up. Cigent stopped it because we had rules set up, and then that protects the data from being accessed without the user putting in their MFA. So I really, because like again, there you can set up encryption. That's fine. And
Yeah, that encryption works because we already
Yeah.
tested
Yeah, but
and
the
it works
whole
fine. That layer works fine. But
Mhm.
our concern, our main concern
It's about
is
the
the
MFA.
is the MFA that we know
Mhm.
that runs fine in the machine running the agent. But in the test we did, or I don't know if we tested wrong, but in the test we did here in the laboratory, we were able to bypass or check normally the files, even if the MFA was configured and active in the first machine. So that was our concern. You mentioned and you show us that it's possible to do that, right? I was following your setup, and I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah,
well.
it's very good. It's very good. The the scenario that you just presented, Vince,
Yeah,
is okay. We understand it. It's a well, someone that is trying to get it access to escalate the access, and or who's already escalated the access and is trying to open a file and is not detected by the EDR. That's we understand that pretty well. Is pretty easy to to follow. But our concerns, like we have been saying, is that what happens when the file is moving. Uh, Either way, we are copying the file to a USB stick. We are sending or collaborating, adding to the Teams or Outlook or sending to an email. So what is going to happen with the email to the file when the recipient is having the file?
sure.
What we have seen is that only the encryption is available, not the MFA. I don't know if my
No,
description
that's
now
true.
is
So right. No, that's accurate. So on a machine that has Cigent installed, MFA will be there.
okay. Okay, okay, okay.
It
So it
won't.
needs to it needs to have the when it tries to open the file, is going to be that is going to see that the file is encrypted. But in order to open it, he's going to be he needs to download the Cigent agent. Is that what you're saying?
So if we're talking just file sharing, um, what would
Right.
happen then is there's two scenarios.
Okay.
So if say I want to make everything in this folder use the subscription key and encrypt it like that, then as long as the user is a member of that subscription, so they deployed Cigent out, say for example, and they have the agent on their machine, that's fine. If they aren't a member of that organization or subscription, you have the ability to add them to that. So I can go to here.
Mhm.
Where am I? Right here. Oops. Can't. Oops. I need to sign in really quick. I can add them as an individual user, and then I can send out. Here, I'll show you. So if it's an individual user that exists in my contact list, I can
Mhm.
just add the user to that file. So I could say right click, add the
Okay.
user, and if they don't exist, I can then add that user,
Uh-huh.
and it's going to search a global directory in Cigent within all of our subscriptions. And if the
Okay.
user doesn't exist, we'll invite them. They'll get
Mhm.
mail. And then what they can do is then there's a button they can click that will take them to a login page. And they can then log into this console, except what they will see inside the console is only this view right here. This is the only thing they'll see. And they can browse for the file that they've downloaded at that point, and then it'll decrypt it for them and they can read the file.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that's really kind of the two ways to do encryption. You can make it available for file sharing, I should say. You can make it for anyone that's in the subscription that has access. Typically, those are probably going to be your corporate documents that your customers have that they want encrypted, but they will then want their end users to have access to. The user subscription is going to be more granular, and that will be probably files that your individual user creates on their own, and they need to share with a few people or a group of people.
Okay.
But those are kind of two different, use cases here. So you have the whole use case of file sharing, but this really kind of, at the core of what we do, it's preventing unauthorized access to your data. And that's what I like to demo a lot because no one does that. There's that one company out there today where I can say, hey, you know what, I'm going to run a 0 day. And then with Cigent protecting that data, I can stop that from happening for the data to be encrypted or for it to move. Because kind of building on that too, within here, I'll demonstrate me creating a directory and then trying to copy off the data from one folder to the other. And if that folder has the data in there that Cigent's protecting, immediately the end user is going to get an MFA prompt saying, hey, this process is trying to access your data. So data exfiltration, right? Data theft. That's the other thing I like to demonstrate a lot too as well, because those are two common scenarios that we see all the time.
Okay. You're correct. Right. Bertin, you got all that?
Yeah, pretty clear.
Okay.
So
Now
then
it makes sense.
Yep. Let's see here. So those are the two things I typically do. One of the things you can do if you want to have fun to initiate, in talking about how we do shields up and all that, and how you can deploy Cigent out and instantly kind of be in a protected mode or in a ready state mode. One of the things you can do to build on top of that is we have those sensors. So if you go into the management console, there's sensors that you can set up, and these are global. But you have the ability, so we prevent unauthorized access, but at the same time, we do have some ways to help detect with that as well to help us to help protect customers. So one of the things I do once in a while, I'll use Nmap as an example. So if I'm a bad guy or bad actor or whatever, and I'm on a machine on the network and I want to do a port scan, I just need to change my IP address here. When I initiate this, the way this sensors works with Cigent, there's some ports we expose if they're not in use, and they're kind of common ones. And I'll run this, and then it's doing a discovery, and immediately that's triggered an active lock state for us.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
now again, yeah, so if I want to show here, I can say, you know what, now any folder and files that are protected with Cigent, if I want to access them, when I do that, I'm going to get an MFA prompt. This message will go away in about 30 seconds, I think it is by default.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to demonstrate how those sensors work.
Okay.
That's actually a good demo to help too with
Yes.
this. So if you have these open by default, the vault's unlocked, and you run this, that's a quick way to show you too, hey, not only can, an administrator lock this or put in that shields up mode, but we can help with the detection as well and then, lock it out. So,
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna clear it. Some other quick things I will do sometimes. I have, depending upon the, stop it. What am I trying to access? Oh, it's, let me kill the nmap. One of the things I'll do occasionally is if at trade shows and stuff like that, if I don't have a lot of time to talk, I have a script that I run, and it basically, instead of me clicking around and showing and doing things, this is really quick. I can show ransoming or
Se fue el audio, ¿me escuchan?
Sí, sí lo escucho, creo que fue a él el que se le
Vince,
fue.
okay.
Mm.
Vince, we cannot hear you. Probably there is something in your sound or
Yeah, from your side. Yeah. ¿Cómo lo ves, Bertín? ¿Podemos hacer una de estas demostraciones así, de esta forma?
sí,
Se
sí.
fue, desconectó. Okay, okay.
Se nos fue el internet, dijo cuando entró que había tenido problemas.
Ujú, ujú. No, está interesante eso, el poder bloquear los puertos ¿cómo se llama? Del Heartbeat y me imagino que la comunicación a la consola. Em, esa función está vacilona. Y es lo que tú decías. O sea, lo que no se dice es que bueno, como manejan ahí el monitoreo de los servicios.
Claro, pero no lo mencionan en las
No, no,
presentaciones.
no, no, no,
¿Verdad que
no.
no?
Nosotros sí lo vamos a hacer. No, no, no. Tú tienes toda la razón. No sé la razón,
Pues
pero
podríamos
bueno.
preguntarle, ahí todavía está
Y
Mocin.
Olex, pero Olex está yo creo que aprendiendo igual que nosotros. Olex, sorry, we were speaking in Spanish, but we have a question. Maybe Bertin can.
Hello, Oleg, how you been? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I
Hello.
can look. I have
Okay.
also a question from my side. I wonder if Vince was in a position, to address um, your issue with being able to bypass the MFA protection. Because
Yeah.
I was following you guys, but then I just didn't realize if he was able, to address that issue to you.
Okay. No, yes, he answered it pretty well. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but
Thank you very much.
we have another question. Probably you could help us with the concern. For
Go ahead.
example, we have been reviewing the documentation and the presentation from you guys, and we noticed, so for example, one of the key features that we can offer to our customers here is about the possibility or the main thing here is about we can track or we can hook into the processes of our computer and track those actions that inputs and outputs, and that thing makes the biggest difference in comparison with other tools because it's what we can say. For example, if a customer asks to us what this tool does that the other things in the market are doing right now, what makes it so special? And I was discussing with Jose several times about the thing. You know what? This thing, what makes it special, is the possibility to track all the inputs and outputs and hook into the processes of a machine. And if a file is being accessed, is going to trigger the MFA. So why there is no clear explanation in all your documentation and presentation of I mean at this point what you guys share with us, we haven't found that vein specifically printed on, like there is no presentation about it specifically.
Google
So that would be our main concern right now.
tiene correo, niño.
I am back.
Well, I can
Hi
tell you.
No,
again.
eso no es una red
Yeah,
social.
just a moment. I can tell you guys. So we are still elaborating on content for our website. So it may take some time, for us to update it. Let's work together, right, to make sure that we have that content available on our website. What you find especially valuable. Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Beans is back, I think.
I
Hello, Beans.
apologize.
Yeah.
Hi.
Nah, no problem. Probably you're running
That's-
with issues, right, in your end.
Oh, it is. Yep. It's bad. Anyway, so what I was saying is I will use a script that I'll send you that you can modify. This is just for quick demos if you want to do it. But again, it's the whole idea is it's preventing
Es
access.
un niño, no tiene nada de esas cosas.
What's that?
Oh no,
Sorry, sir.
it's Esteban. Esteban is just
Oh, if
with
I
the
yeah.
open mic.
So
No
anyways,
problem.
you'll have this script, you can modify it, but it's really quick just to demonstrate if I want to show someone here I can ransom a file using that executable. If I want to then show Cigent stopping that from happening. If I want to anyway, so this is something I will use as well. Some other things I've done in the past to demonstrate when I was talking about earlier with like oh, I am not sharing my screen either. Let me do
No
that.
problem. No problem.
One of the things I've done in the past is to demonstrate kind of, again, it's the whole idea of us using some detections that we can put into place. So one of the things we do is with the integrations that we have with your EDR or AV solutions and things like that, if they detect something, we can then, go and immediately go in an active lock state, but we can then carry that out to the organization as well. But this, to demonstrate this is just a dummy email I've set up as a template. And I'll either send it to myself sometimes or I'll just open it. But the important thing is it's the content you can make your own. Are you familiar with ICAR strings?
iCar strings.
Yeah. So it's a link that it's either a file or a URL you can do to try to download a file, but your AV or EDR will always it should pick it up. And this will generate it treats it as a threat. So if
Okay.
I try to run and download this file right now, I go to this link, Sentinel-1 is going to detect that this is a threat that's happened immediately. And if I have this set up, then what I'll end up having to do is Cigent then will come from and pick that up by querying Sentinel-1's management console using the APIs that we have or that they have. And this can be configured to go in that active lock state as well. So it's just something else to think about. But this is kind of handy to use for all different things. I've used it for putting it in files or, email. This is just kind of demonstrating a phishing attempt. But this will then trigger whatever EDR solution your customers have for sure. It's a known thing. I've included the link to their site because you can download, but it's what some EDR or AV tools use for detecting their tools to make sure it works.
Okay.
So this is something to point out. Let's see here. Close my email. This. Let's see. So yeah, it's kind of from a demo perspective. I like to start with it being really simple, just literally showing on MFA at the file accesses, and then building it out by going through kind of a shields up configuration, and then taking it all the way to, the secure drives in that. The different tools that we can use. Feel free to do whatever you want with it to make your own.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much again, Vince. I think we are all set.
Well, I have another question. Yeah. The other day, Jose asked me
Yeah.
something about.
Always me. Always
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
because we are elaborating a paper or presentation in Spanish, but we have a clue or a concern about the term invisible,
Sure.
because yeah, so I was debating with him about the ambiguity of the word because from my opinion, I don't know if it's referring to something visible that you cannot see, like you cannot see the files or something, or
Right. It is.
is working at a technical level, like is hiding the files. So we need to clear that ambiguity and from our terminology in Spanish, because in Spanish it could be understood in many ways,
Okay.
as it's really
Yes.
difficult to explain that to a customer, because the customer is going to ask you in Spanish, you know what, I understand what you mean with invisible, explain to me, is something that I cannot see, or it's something that is working a technical that I understand, so please explain. So it's the thing that
That's fair.
we need to explain very clear in our presentation in Spanish.
Sure. So invisible data, and it's a marketing term.
yeah, okay,
But if you look at here, right? So I've got my secure vaults locked right now.
okay,
So quote unquote, it's invisible to the operating system. The operating system, if I open up disk management right now, or if I want to use, this is a forensics tool for it's a hex editor. If I try to connect to a disk right now, all it sees is my C drive. It doesn't see those other hidden partitions. So
Okay.
again, invisible. Now, if I unlock this, I'll put my pin in, and you'll see over here, the Windows and disk management acknowledges that. So I'll select that, and then that'll unlock it. And then now you'll see that partition is visible in the operating system.
Mhm. That partition is the secure drive that you mentioned before.
Yeah, so this is really
Okay.
what the secure drives are. It's leveraging the Opal technology in the drive.
Okay.
And then really what we're doing is we can issue commands from the agent to tell the drive, lock this partition. And really that locking is like unmounting it. So it's not visible to anyone, right? Again, invisible. So that's really what it means. Now, if I go and lock this, again, you're going to see this when it locks, it goes away.
Okay.
Windows
Okay.
doesn't have any idea that it's there. Neither would someone trying to do reconnaissance work on your network to understand that's there.
Okay. But it's a feature again. It's a feature that depends on the compatibility with Opal 2.
Correct.
Okay. If the drive it doesn't comply, what is going to get is only the MFA and encryption. Am I right?
Exactly. Or
Okay.
the other option is the customer can purchase
Yeah.
the secure drives if they
Okay.
want to. But
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's it. But that's when we say invisible data, it's only for the secure drives, and it
Okay.
has to do with, hiding and opening those vaults. I
Okay.
don't know what word would make more sense for you to use in Spanish, but feel
No,
free.
no, 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 no. The description that you just did is what we need to.
Yeah, yeah. Jose had to clarify that because he was asking me, and I don't know what to say to
No,
him.
no, no. Good to no, and it's good that you bring it up over here
Yeah,
because I'm clear. Thank you very much for the explanation, Vince. Again.
Any other questions?
No, no.
I think no.
Okay. Well, about the drives, the Cigent drives,
Yeah.
they are available, or they are
Yeah,
going to be available.
you can buy them now. They're
Ah,
available.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you can. Yeah, they're. If you go to our website, so we have our own Cigent drive, and then we have some partners that sell them as well.
Okay.
So really, what you gain with the Cigent drive versus using assuming that the customer has an Opal drive, what you gain with that is I can plug this in. I don't know if you remember last week, I was having all sorts of weird issues happening with my computer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out when we hung up. I restarted my computer. Somehow or another, the Alt key on my keyboard was stuck. And anytime I was trying to do a key combination of any sort, it was causing all sorts of issues. I'm gonna connect this to the host. So the big difference between the Cigent drive. Oh shoot, I had that locked. It's gonna be a bad example. Um, the Cigent drives themselves have firmware embedded into those drives that have additional capabilities.
Okay. Yeah.
That
My
aren't
understanding.
inside of an Opal drive. So
Okay.
if I look here, for example, if I go back to my dashboard, you'll see this is the Opal drive that's in my Lenovo.
Okay.
This is the external drive with the Cigent drive plugged in. Oh shoot, I took this. Oh gosh. I can't show it right now because my other drive's gone. There's additional functionality for firmware. So if you look at on our website, you'll see a disk erasure verification and command logs and a thing called heartbeat.
Yeah.
So the heartbeat to me is kind of really key. If for whatever reason the drive itself and the Cigent service have a communication that's like a 30-second ping.
Mhm.
If that's severed, the drive automatically will lock up on its own. Like these secure vaults lock up on its own. So there's like 3 different features that aren't available in here by default. Maybe at some point we'll make it available for all Opal drives, but today with our own Cigent drives, there's firmware that we put in there that is not available in here.
Okay. Okay.
But for all intents and purposes, the functionality that your customers are going to want with having this invisible data, you can, as long as you have an Opal drive, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
But
We got
those
it.
drives are available. They're 256 up to 2 terabytes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's good to know. It's good to know. What happens with I know when even Lenovo or Dell, they will like they're gonna need to license their Opal compliant devices. Am I right?
No, they should.
Or
No,
the software is pre-installed in their machines.
yeah, it's just Opal Drive is just a standard that's available for anyone that wants to buy it.
Okay, no, but what I mean is that they need to buy the subscription in order to
Oh, yeah,
install the Cigent Drive agent.
yes. So
Okay.
this exists. So the advantage of just having a drive that's an Opal drive, or Opal compliant drive, is
Yeah.
you just need right to have a subscription and just deploy our software out. And then you
Okay.
can do most of everything versus having to buy a brand new drive.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
just a subscription.
Okay. Thank you. Like I said, Vince, we think we are all set here,
Okay.
and we are ready to go from now on. I don't know if you have any other remaining question, Bertin.
No, there are no more questions from my side. So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alex.
I will send you. Do you is OneDrive okay for you?
Para mí.
I think yeah, it works.
Okay, I'll send you a OneDrive link with different tools and scripts.
Okay. Great. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you
Let
very
me
much, Vince.
know. Yeah, let me know what questions you have after, or if customers have them. We're happy to help.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, for
Thanks a
sure.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Take
Yeah,
care.
stay in touch. Yeah, you
Take
too.
care,
See you.
Oleg.
Bye for now. Bye.